Hello, those of you who don't know me, I'm Pirrie, and I've been on and off coming to the Territory since '96, and I'm calling it my home now. You'll never really know. I guess there's a couple of things I was thinking about with this work, and maybe the way I'll talk about it is through a conversation I was having the other day about a film called The Tree of Life. I don't think it's come to Darwin yet, but it's supposed to be a very beautiful, amazing film, directed by the same guy who did The Thin Red Line. Anyway, in it is a quote. There's quotes along the way, and one of them is about the fact that you can either have grace or nature. And grace or nature. So I think that's a very rich idea, and it sort of suits the way I think about things and the way I've been over the last couple of years exploring the idea of what is an environmental aesthetic, what's our environmental aesthetic today, grace being something that is, I guess, linked with notions of perfection, notions of beauty, I don't know why, but I immediately think of a basketball player going for a slam dunk. This beautiful moment of reaching up into the air and it all working perfectly, and then the body collapsing onto the ground. So that the nature part is the part that is gravity, the part that sort of where the body falls and the limbs crumble and everything becomes a bit of a mess. The movie talks about them being separated, and I guess my thought is that they are sort of one and the same thing, but perhaps I'm more interested in the relationship of nature being without grace, or at least the components of the environment that are, say, a little bit messy, that are about things that we don't immediately associate with beauty and with our sort of sense of what's right and what's not right. For example, these sort of paper forms that I've made, they're a bit weedy. So even that word, weedy, we talk about weedy sea dragons, or weeds that are about plants that are not supposed to be there, or forms basically that remind us of a particular natural phenomenons are here actually sort of collapsing onto the ground. And there's a long history for me also with this sort of relationship, because it's something that I've repeatedly done in a lot of inter-arts projects with musicians. And I sort of call it a bit of floorcore, where the mess, the after the party mess, is all on the floor. So I'm kind of maybe thinking about the environment after the party. What happens? What part do you love? What part don't you love? Of course, the fans are synonymous with the Territory. We all have them. And over here, the sort of three graces here are about those sort of relationships that we have with the environment now, which is so heavily linked with economics and carbon footprint. But getting back to the sort of sensations that we have, the things that are sensationally there, and our viewpoints of beauty in that context is perhaps where I'd like to probably focus a bit more, and perhaps that's maybe the point of some of the works that I'm making, or the place where I reside.
I must say, in the context of Territory time, it was that I immediately looked at these works and sort of relating to not necessarily the relationship between embracing nature, but nature of itself, and the sort of destruction of with the wind, just for cyclones,
winds,
sort of ripping and shredding and destroying these things and leaving detritus and mess on the ground.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I went with these.
No, completely. So, you know, nature is a very destructive force up here, and it's a very destructive force, and it's actually something that is quite tangible for Territorians. You know, we have to really respect it. It's so very much there, and I think that that's what I find very attractive about here, is the fact that I have to be belittled or respect completely this sort of reality that something that is a force of nature means that things are controlled not by people, but by a greater sense of, you know, nature with the capital N.
Certainly can't ignore it.
Yeah,
you
really can't. Yeah, that's right. So this sort of the collapse, and these are all on timers too. So there's a bit of a dance here. Some are playing, some aren't at certain times. They're almost like in conversation with each other too. This sort of staging. So that's kind of a nice thing as well. But yeah, Simon, that's completely right. And I guess a lot of the work that I make, well, one of my first pieces when returning up here was about Cyclone Helen. So after the cyclone, I brought a tree root into a gallery and worked that up to an event. So yeah, I like our cyclones.
Any of the streamers, are they just randomly stripped, or
no? They're actually made with pulp on a plastic sheet, and I draw them on, so that I end up with perhaps, you know, more of a drawing type thing.
Has it like a kelp seaweed?
Yeah. So you know, I can. So then I can. From there, what happens is I have a pigment which either is resting on the plastic as a sort of memory of a last go that I did, and so it comes up from the bottom and sort of leaves all these patinas, which are, you know, very kelp-like and very weedy, and I think that's very effective for me. I really appreciate that, and
it's also hugely labour and material and time intensive, and then you destroy them.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the event. That's the event.
It's quite a brave.
Well, it's
I don't know, brave, but you know, it's a difficult thing to do. To like just as part of a lot of time and effort and beauty involved, and then put it up to be
destroyed. But maybe it's just destroyed in this manifestation. So perhaps the takeaway environmental message is that you've got to learn to love all the things that actually aren't historically deemed as the right environmental way, you know, and that in actual fact these sort of moments where destruction occur by the environment, yes, they are. There's bigger reasons why these are happening, but if we can just learn to love the things that are sometimes considered ugly or that are destroyed, then you know, and put them to use too. You know, learning to love is to put them to use, so that everything that you see has a rich place in your sort of, I guess, everyday living. Pardon? Ongoing, yeah, exactly.
Really remind me this image I was seeing from Pam Loftus' show. I don't know if you remember, she had a show previously in 2015 that's photograph shows, and she did those photographs in the desert in the centre of Australia. All those houses in the desert, no one ever lived there anymore, so the kind of
Oh, I remember them. Yes,
the
they were
relic sort
fascinating.
of houses, but then you still see those white goods still in there, like a fridge and fans and kitchen. You
The
still
wasp
see,
nest.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
then you
Yeah.
see all
24-hour
those
artifact.
Yeah, that's right.
and nature sort of took over the mode
Yeah.
and all the things. So it's become half like a neutral way sort of way. And then and that's really reminded me that image I saw, and so I see those things as part of nature, organic, living things, and then start taking over the man-made products and become as a whole things.
Yeah.
And so like for me, just make me think the impact the human beings on the nature, but then another side of nature actually took over, eventually become part of the whole picture.
Yes.
So that's, I think that's just comments I have.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's true. You know, it's a hard decision. At what point do we change things? At what point do we acknowledge our intervention? And at what point do we, you know, say that's how we want it to be? You know, that's how we want it to be left. That's how we want it to be preserved. All those sort of questions, I guess, are thrown up in my head. I don't have one particular answer here. I just use my practice as a way of sort of manifesting that sort of right or envisaged nature, you know, all these sort of different ways of thinking about and the dilemmas that we come across. So making part of the work, actually a labour involved, is very much an important part of this. It's not, you can't talk about the environment without actually having to engage with a material responsibility, whether it's through found objects or actually making it. And for making it, it's actually a bodily thing as much as anything else too. You know, the physical act is acknowledging me as a part of the environment too.
Yeah,
So.
that's why it's
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting how normally with handmade papers and things you've got to put your gloves on and everyone's very precious, and then here you're almost road testing it to show its endurance, like over the course of a month. It's precious, beautiful
Road
paper.
test.
You know, actually it has an extreme strength to it as well. You don't need to fear it or be precious about it. You need to experience it and let it kind of stand up.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
really
That's
interesting.
lovely.
Can I ask, conceptualising nature,
Yeah.
why, for example, was there a choice made not to use anything organic or what would normally associate
I think
as
the
a natural
paper.
form?
I think the paper for me is organic. So
It's an artifice though.
It's true. It's true. But in actual fact, it has a living reality up here in the territory more than anywhere. Because it's affected by humidity, and it's, as Katie was sort of intimating, you know, the protection factor of this as a material is very, you know, you'd be insane to work with it up here, really. You know, come the wet season, it's just, it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to go. It will be mouldy. It will look like that in real terms, But yeah, no, I guess because I work with paper a lot, I do see it as a living, organic thing, and I've witnessed it, you know, do things that are out of my hands. I watch it from wet pulp to dry, so I watch it actually in a process of change too, and so yeah, it is an organic for me. It's because it's a made thing too, I feel like it adds that me as well. So as opposed to growing a plant and you know, putting that in the exhibition, where I'm in a sense waiting for the environment to sort of make decisions that are out of my hands, or I could be a good gardener, I guess. I haven't really thought this through, but I might.
I also think if you're trying to talk about the different readings and responses to and different problematics of nature, to put something in that's organic, like a plant, or seem to go, this represents nature, I think a lot of people have a very, will bring to that very fixed mind view of nature. which a lot of people have, is nature means a tree.
Yeah.
And that's as far as it goes. And I think that would really limit the kind of way it could be read. And I think using something and going, take it from nature and plonk it in the gallery.
Plonk it in the gallery,
Doesn't go anywhere from that.
Yeah,
Sort of go, nature, tree, nature is trees. Trees are nature.
And I guess subverting all these ideas, subverting what represents nature, makes it obvious what a construct our notion of nature is.
Very nice.